Look who's trying to be in the vlog today. Welcome, guys. It's a little bit later. It's actually 3:30. I just got off of work. This is Ghost. Say hi, Ghost. Look how cute she is. She's my precious little puppy pup. He wants a nap, but she's sitting up and I'm holding her. And I'm actually getting ready for the Chbosky signing. I'm so excited. Okay, look, you can see the toys. Your kids are okay. This is a tip for all of you dog owners. Make sure you get your female dogs fixed, because there's such a thing called false pregnancy, which they'll take all their toys and turn them into kids. I know they're your kids and you were watching them and you were just checking on the one. But anyway, I'm gonna go downstairs and get ready for the signing. I actually didn't read yesterday or vlog. I intended to. And yeah, we might see this one a little bit later, but who knows. Thank you for the kiss. Okay. Okay, yeah. Well, I'm gonna go get ready and I'll check in as I'm getting ready. I didn't read yesterday, so I didn't finish anything. I was just kind of in a bad mood and really just not feeling like it. So anyway, I'll check in soon. And this little one's gonna go take a nap because she's tired. There you go, Ghost. Go take your nap. And she fell over. Okay, I will check in soon. All right, I am ready for the book signing. I just gotta get my phone charger. There it is. And Dad's ready, so we're gonna make our way out to the book signing for Chbosky. I'm excited. I'm currently 500 pages almost into Carry On, so I'm almost done with the book. And I will update you guys from the signing. I'm gonna read some of Imaginary Friend on the way and just enjoy my time. I will check in at the book signing. Welcome to Bad Angles. I don't know how to film in public, but I'm at the library. The doors are opening soon. And I'm just really excited to meet Chbosky and hear what he has to say. I've enjoyed what I've read so far of Imaginary Friend, and The Perks of Being a Wallflower is amazing. So yeah, I just can't wait to meet him and see what he's got to say up and going on. And I might dive into some more Perks right now, but I have my light little dinner down here of Ruffles and Diet Coke before maybe I go out to dinner with Dad after the signing. And that's gonna be all for now. I'll talk to you soon.
Hello, everybody. Hi. Very nice to be here. Oh, very nice to be here. There, much better. I didn't know that you passed that law about white plastic bags. That's happening where I am in Los Angeles as well a little bit. So that is fantastic. And I'll even, just because that is going to be the law, I'll even tell you a little bit about that scene and how I'm going to make it into a movie. It's going to be very fun. But first, we have to start. I've been starting my tour this way. I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I'm married to a wonderful woman named Liz. And because she has to stay home with the kids, she couldn't come on tour with me. And so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold this up. This is my camera, and I'm going to go like this, and a point, and then please say hi, Liz, and then applaud. Can you do it for me? Yeah. Fantastic. Here we go. Okay. Now she's going to be a little less mad at me when I get home. So thank you for that. That's very, very nice of you. Okay. Thank you for, I imagine most folks are here for The Perks of Being a Wallflower, maybe one of the movies that I've been very, very fortunate to have worked on. But yes, as you said, I did write another book, and I did it, I can tell all the reasons, I'll tell you happily all the reasons that led me to writing that book. But let me just start with the first idea that led to it. Okay, so when we were all young children, we all had this experience, especially here, in the suburbs of Cleveland, which are, you have more land. I was just over at my friend Andy's house, and you have more land, and it's unbelievable. Basically, every one of your houses would go for about $45 million in Los Angeles. So bravo for that. Anyway, we all have this experience. You're in the grass, you're in the park, you're laying down, and you look up into the sky, and you see the clouds up in the sky. And we all did this, and said, you look at the shapes, and you say, oh, that looks like a dog, looks like a hammer, a face, whatever it was. Well, Imaginary Friend began with a little what-if question, which is, what if a little boy looked up into the sky and realized that for the last 2 weeks, it was always the same face in the clouds looking back at him. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then because I'm a filmmaker, and I think in terms of movie trailers sometimes or commercials, I thought of this scene where little boy Christopher, who is fleeing, he and his mother flee this terrible relationship that she was in, settled in this little town in Pennsylvania, and things are looking okay. And then now Christopher notices this cloud that is just following him all the time. And now he's outside of his school, and the last of the school buses go away. And he's outside all alone, and he's reading his book because he's dyslexic, and he's trying really hard to be a better student for his mom. And suddenly a shadow cuts across the page, and he looks up, and there's the cloud face, but now it's almost as big as the sky. And he says, "Hello? Can you hear me?" And there's a thunderclap in the distance. When I do the movie, it'll be that speaker, I promise you. And then it could be a coincidence, so he says, "If you can hear me, blink your left eye." And the cloud goes like this, and then floats away. So that was the moment I thought of, and I thought it was very cool, and I thought, what's behind this? I just love it as a moment. I'm intrigued. I want to know what happens as a little boy. And so both the metaphor for my process and also the literal form for the narrative is, I spent the last 10 years off and on when I wasn't busy. You know, I got married and I have 2 children now, and I did the Perks movie and the Wonder movie and Beauty and the Beast and all these other things that I was really, really proud to be a part of. But I always came back to this story because for the last 10 years off and on, I would follow the cloud. And where it led me, I couldn't have predicted 10 years ago if you paid me a lot of money to do so. So, where it started, after he began to follow the cloud, was this moment. I'm very excited to read it to you right now. And this is, for those of you who brought your books, if you want to follow along, feel free. I didn't need these 20 years ago. That's not funny. All right, so this is chapter 6. Here we go. Christopher, that's the name of the little boy. Christopher looked up. Oh, yeah, I should say, I'm sorry. He followed the cloud, he walks away, he follows the cloud into what is known as, in this little town, as the Mission Street Woods, where a little boy named David Olson in the prologue wandered into those woods 50 years ago, and we don't know whatever happened to him. So, here it is, chapter 6. Christopher looked up. He couldn't see the cloud face anymore. That's how thick the trees were. He could still hear the rain, but not a drop fell to earth. The ground was still dry, cracked like old skin. It felt like the trees were a big umbrella, an umbrella keeping something safe. Christopher. Christopher turned around. The hairs on his neck stood up. "Who's there?" he said. There was silence, a quiet, shallow breathing. It might have been the wind, but something was here. Christopher could feel it, like the way you know when someone is staring at you, the way he knew that his mom's ex-boyfriend Jerry was a bad man long before his mother did. He heard a footstep. Christopher turned and saw that it was just a pine cone falling from a tree. Thump, thump, thump. It rolled down the ground and landed on the trail. The trail was covered by pine needles and a few twisted branches, but it was unmistakable. A trail worn into the earth by years of bikes and ramps and races, by kids taking shortcuts to the other side of town. But now it looked abandoned, like the construction fence outside had kept the kids away for months, maybe even years. There wasn't a pair of fresh footsteps in it, except one. He could see an imprint of a shoe in the dirt. Christopher walked over and put his little sneakers next to it. They were about the same size. It was a little kid's footprint. That's when he heard a little kid crying. Christopher looked down the trail and he saw that the little kid tracks went on for a long, long time. The sound was coming from that direction, far away in the distance. "Hello? Are you okay?" Christopher yelled out. The crying got louder. Christopher's chest tightened, and a voice inside him told him to turn around, walk back to school, and wait for his mother. But the little kid was in trouble, so he ignored this fear and followed the footprints. Slowly at first, cautiously. He walked toward an old creek with a billy goat bridge. The footprints went through the water and came out on the other side. They were muddy now. The little kid must be close. "Help me." Was that a voice? Was it the wind? Christopher picked up his pace. The little kid tracks led him past an old hollow log that was carved out like a big canoe. Christopher looked ahead of him. He saw no one. The voice must be the wind. It didn't make any sense to him, but there was no other explanation because he saw nothing except the light. The light was far down the trail, bright and blue. the place where the crying was. Christopher began walking toward it to help the little kid. With every step, the light got bigger and the space under the trees got wider, and pretty soon there were no trees above his head because Christopher had reached the clearing. It stood in the center of the woods, a perfect circle of grassy fields. The trees were gone, and he could see the sky, but something was wrong. He had gone into the woods a few minutes ago when it was day, but it was nighttime now. The sky was black, and the stars were shooting a lot more than usual, almost like fireworks. The moon was so big that it lit the clearing, a blue moon. "Hello?" Christopher called out. There was silence, no crying, no wind, no voice. Christopher looked around the clearing and saw nothing but the trail of footprints leading to the tree. It stood in the middle of the clearing, crooked like an old man's arthritic hand, reaching out of the earth like it was trying to pluck a bird from the sky. Christopher couldn't help himself. He followed the footsteps. He walked up to the tree and touched it, but it didn't feel like bark or wood. It felt like flesh. Christopher jumped back. It hit him suddenly. This horrible feeling that this was wrong. Everything was wrong. He shouldn't be here. He looked down to find the trail again. He had to get out of here. His mom would be so worried. He found the trail. He saw the little kid tracks, but there was something different about them now. There were handprints next to them, like the little kid was walking on all fours. Crack! Christopher turned around. Something had stepped on a branch. He could hear creatures waking up all around him, surrounding the clearing. Christopher didn't hesitate. He started to run. Following the trail out, he reached the edge of the clearing, back into the woods. But the minute he stepped under the trees, he stopped because the trail was gone. He looked around for it, but the sky was getting darker. The clouds were covering the stars now, and the moon was shining through the cloud face like a pirate's good eye. "Help me!" Christopher called out to the cloud face, but the wind moved and the cloud covered the moon like a blanket. Christopher couldn't see. Oh God, please God. Christopher fell to his knees and started digging through the pine needles, frantic, looking for the trail underneath, the needles sticking to his palms. He could hear the little kid now, but it wasn't crying anymore. It was giggling. Christopher found the trail with his hands and began to crawl on all fours. Get out of here, faster. That's all he thought, faster. The giggling was closer now. Christopher started running. He moved so fast that he lost the trail. He ran in the darkness, past the trees. His legs buckled when he stumbled into the creek, past the Billy Goat Bridge. He fell and ripped up his knees, but he didn't care. He kept running, full sprint. He saw the light up ahead. This was it. He knew it, the street light. He had somehow found the street again. The giggling was right behind him. Christopher ran faster toward the street, toward the light. He ran under the cover of the last tree, and he stopped when he realized he wasn't in the street. He was back in the clearing. The light was not the street light, it was the moon. Christopher looked around and could feel things staring at him. Creatures and animals, their eyes glowing, surrounding the clearing. The giggling was closer, louder. Christopher was surrounded. He had to get out of here, find a way out, find any way out. He ran to the tree. He began to climb. The trees felt like flesh under his hands, like climbing arms instead of branches. But he ignored the feeling. He needed to get higher to see a way out. When he reached halfway up the tree, the clouds parted. The moon made the clearing glow, and Christopher saw it. On the other side of the clearing, hidden behind the leaves and bushes, it looked like a cave mouth. But it wasn't a cave, it was a tunnel. Man-made, wood-framed, with old train tracks in the ground running through it. Christopher realized what that meant. Train tracks led to stations, which led to towns. He could get out. He climbed down the arms of the tree. He reached the ground. He felt a presence in the woods, eyes on him, waiting for him to move. And Christopher ran. All of his might, all of his speed, he felt creatures behind him, but he couldn't see them. He reached the mouth and looked into the tunnel. The train tracks went through it like a rusty spine. He saw moonlight on the other side and escaped. Christopher ran into the tunnel. The wooden frames held up the walls and ceiling like a whale's rib cage. But the wood was old, dilapidated, and rotting, and the tunnel wasn't wide enough for a train to pass through it. What was this place? A covered bridge? A sewer? A cave? A mine. The word hit him like water. A Pennsylvania coal mine. He saw a movie about them in class. Miners using handcarts and rail track to bring out earth to burn. He ran deeper, racing to the moonlight on the other side. He looked down at the tracks to get better footing. That's when he saw the little kid footprints were back, and the giggling was back right behind him. The moonlight faded ahead as the clouds played hide and seek. The whole world went black. He groped into the darkness, trying to find the walls to guide his way out. His feet scraped the tracks as he reached out like a blind man, and he finally found something. He finally touched something in the dark. It was a little kid's hand. And at the end of the chapter, it's one word per page. It says, Christopher was not seen or heard from for 6 days. And that's chapter 6. The surprise part, which may not be a surprise for some folks, one second. So, 20 years, my book came out, and to commemorate, my publisher said, hey, do you want to do like a 20th anniversary edition? And I said, I would love to coincide with the release of Imaginary Friend. I thought that would be a great idea. But I didn't want to just like slap a sticker on it and not do anything. And so I don't, you may know, you may not, I don't know. Basically, I wrote a new letter. And I felt very honored, actually, to have the opportunity to say something, and you'll know what I'm about to say through reading it. So those of you who know my book, you know the ending has been for 20 years, and I will believe the same about you, love always, Charlie. So that's what it's been for 20 years, 20 and a half years. And so now, and I always think about the next 14-year-old or 12-year-old kid or whatever who may be having a rough time of it, and they get to read that line, and I will believe the same about you, love always, Charlie. And now they get to turn a page, and it says afterward. And so here you go. This print's larger. I don't need the glasses so much. So, September 18th, that is my anniversary. Thank you, Liz. September 18th, 2012. Dear friend, I haven't sent a letter to you for 20 years. I don't even know if this is still the right place to send it, but I'm going to send it anyway and hope that you find it. It would mean the world to me if you found it, because I want to say thank you. Years ago, there was a very sad kid who needed a whole lot of help, and writing to you was the beginning of that help. Whatever I've learned as an adult, I've never forgotten what it was like to be that kid, what it was like to feel like no one could understand these feelings because I couldn't understand them myself. I have never forgotten feeling sad or crazy or depressed or outside of my own self and own body. And on the great days, I have never forgotten what it was like to go on those drives with those songs with those beautiful people whom I still call friends. That kid wrote some letters and sent them out into the world to a stranger he had heard about. And then something amazing happened. You wrote back. I know I didn't close my real name or address, but somehow my letters were shared. People passed them around the way Patrick's poem was, Xerox and traded, whispered like a secret password. However it happened, it happened. You read my letters, and then some of you wrote back. You sent letters to random addresses. Some of them were forwarded along to me. Maybe some of them weren't. I don't know if I got all of them. But I got enough of your letters to realize something extraordinary. And if you could see the boxes and boxes of letters that I have received for the last 20 years, you would know what I know once and for all, forever and always. You are not alone. Understand, friend, there are millions of us, millions of people who struggle with and overcome all sorts of problems. You would be shocked to know how many people understand exactly what you are going through. That doesn't mean what you're going through is somehow less meaningful, special, unique. On the contrary, it means that what you're going through is more. It is important. It deserves to be seen, spoken of, and understood. It is 20 years now. 20 years of receiving your letters, and I can't tell you how many times they've saved me that day, or made me cry, or laugh, or believe, or hope that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I can't tell you what it's like to read a letter from the young woman who's going to kill herself, read my letters and decided not to. And she is now in her 30s. She is happily married. She has children. The dark time is over for her, just like it will pass for you. So if these words make sense, if you have known these stories yourself, if you have experienced or witnessed abuse, physical, sexual, emotional, if you have struggled with mental illness of any kind or love someone who does, if you are surrounded by those who call what you are different instead of beautiful, if your mind or body has cried out for peace and acknowledgement and understanding, just know you are part of an infinite family. The people who have been through terrible things and survived them, if you are reading these words, you won today. You are here. You are alive. You have options. You can wait out a bad situation, move on, fight back, get out, break up, call, ask her or him out. Write that book, write that song, listen to the music, take the drive, take the chance, and live. Whatever strategy you choose, you win. There are so many more of us than there will ever be of them. And we can find each other, and we can help each other, and we can talk to each other, and we can build great lives. Happiness is not this thing for other people. It is for you. It is for me. It is for all of us. We all get an ending. Whether or not it's happy is up to us. That is my long way of saying thank you, dear friend. 20 years ago, a young man wrote some letters. You wrote him back. And a grown man was inspired to write again. So just in case this ends up being my last letter, I want to answer one question. The question I have been asked the most since your letters found their way to me. Whatever happened to Charlie? And I can tell you what happened to Charlie in 3 words. He made it. And so will you. Love always, Charlie.
Alright, so I forgot to end the vlog last night, so this is just me signing off, and I will see you in tomorrow's vlog.